Hello and welcome to the SC Playbook podcast, the NRL Supercoach Round 13 edition, proudly brought to you by Mortgage Choice SCW. I'm your host, Tim Williams. We are here. We have arrived at the dreaded NRL Supercoach bye period. We've been looking at it since about November, December for me personally, planning around it, what to do, who to hold, who to sell. We've got here. And God, I hope that everyone has numbers on board and they've planned sufficiently. Here with us to talk through it, as always, the 2021 91st placed finisher, the SC Spy. Spy, you've come into the studio today with a bit of skip in your step. You fired up.
I'm on the mend, mate. Last Tuesday, fired up for the potty, got through, carried the load pretty well, I thought. But I've pretty much been sick since, which is weird because I can't figure out why I'd get sick after Magic Round. But anyway, if anyone's got any answers to that, let me know. But no, come good today. And I think the Origin chat starting to hype around. It's hard not to get fired up. How good?
Very, very exciting times, mate. Also with us today, 2021's sixth placed finisher, the lovely Clementine Cassidy. Clem, welcome back for a second or third time this year, I think.
Yeah, second time this year. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Still haven't worked out speaking to the mic yet, Clem.
No, I haven't.
One thing at a time.
One day, one thing at a time.
We'll get there. We'll get it. Don't worry. Darushi's been on more times than you, and he hasn't worked it out either. Clem, you've come in looking outstanding today. What is that you're wearing?
Well, I'm wearing my sixth place finisher tracksuit from 2021. Where's yours?
You didn't give me a heads up, so I forgot to wear it. Spy, where's yours?
How do you get them?
Well, the reason I wore it is I thought I'd give Spy something to aspire to. Yeah, so just make sure he's, keeping on with, moving up there in the ranking.
Yeah, nice. Thanks, guys. I thought it was top 92 got him, so I'll have to reach out to Sangster.
Yeah, no, they are rippers though. So look, Spy, say thank you to Clem for this continued inspiration. Have you ever beaten Clem in Supercoach since you started?
Oh, we went through it. Probably not. Oh, you know what? Last year I was like, yeah, of course I've beaten you. I came 91st. She's like, yeah, I came 6th. I was like, so if I go well, she'll be up the pointy end as well.
One day you might.
Also with us for today's podcast, as always, a man with a bit of pep in his step also because the Bunny's got a much-needed win. Matty the Waterboy. Matty, how are you, mate?
What's going on? I've had two 1,300 weeks in a row, so I am vying for one of those tracksuits that you have on, Clem. I've had a good couple of weeks, which has been nice. South are winning. Yeah, good times.
Magic round into a South win, into back-to-back 1,300s. The Waterboys are on the charge.
1,300s in Supercoach. Also won a bet that returned 1,300 on the weekend. So, yeah, it's been a good week. It's been a great week for me.
Yeah.
Matty, we might have a combined birthday next year, mate. Tracksuit party. What do you reckon?
Oh, let's go. Let's do it.
Oh, please. Spy, on that one, mate, how is the side tracking? You're going pretty well.
I thought I killed it on the weekend and I only went up about 500 spots, which is okay. So I'm still in the early 4,000s now, but it was a pretty high-scoring week, I think. But I'm pretty happy, mate. Everyone's making money. Everyone's reasonably healthy, so we'll see what we can do over the next month or so.
Clem, also in hot form at the moment. You're firing.
Firing.
And I can guarantee we didn't plan to get you on this week off the back of a few good weeks. This has been lined up for a while, so it was just timing.
Just timing. So I scored a 12-11 last week, which I was really stoked with because I captained Nicho Hines. So I got the 3-point captain. To be fair, it is what it is. Like, what can you do? You can't do anything about it. So I only dropped around 400 or so places. So the rest of my team really performed. So I'm 5,700th at the moment. So top 5,000, basically.
Very nicely placed going in there. To go over 1,200 with a Nicho skipper for a grand total of... He finished on 2 or 3. Did he update to 3 or downdate to 2?
I think he updated to 3, which is really nice.
3?
Like an extra tackle.
He was on 3, then he went to 2 for some reason. Back up to 3. It was very dramatic.
Yeah. I actually didn't even get to see that game, and then I got this coordinated messages from you and from Spy with, oh dear, Clem, and I'm just like, oh.
You also, for the record, said on Friday you were captaining Manu. What happened?
Oh, no.
I got swayed by the hair.
Yeah. Clem's just like, Penrith are overrated anyway. He'll go big against them. For the Coombe Stallions, 1,288 points. So a much better week and a much needed week. I really didn't want to be outside the top 10K leading into the bye period. So that's got me to 9,200 overall. I'm really, really hoping that setup numbers are great for 13, 16, all bar sort of 19 at the moment. So really hoping to get up toward that 1,000 place ranking by the end of the bye period, sort of around 20, and make a charge late. So hopefully in position to do so, but obviously a little bit of work to do there still. The SC Playbook Unlimited League. Currently we have 9 of the top 10 overall, which is remarkable. Spy, we've currently got 15 of the top 18 ranked people overall in Supercoach.
Gun the book.
Yeah,
good.
How good is that?
That is actually epic.
Slippery, coached by Martin Big. Get this. So Martin is leading Supercoach in the moment. He's in our group. He was the 2011 champion. What a freaking gun.
That is insane.
So Martin Big, I know Desi Creek is trying very hard to go back to be the first player to go back-to-back in Supercoach, but Martin Big, he could beat him too at the way he's going.
First to multiple premierships would be huge.
Yeah. Desi's firing. He's on the cusp of the top 1,000 at the moment as well.
He's right there, 8 or 9. He's fine.
He'll be back in coming weeks. I believe Matty Ryan will be special guest star next week on the podcast, but to be confirmed. To jump in the SC Playbook League, this is the last opportunity to do it before we shut it off. I'll be screenshotting about the top 15,000 entries. So if you win it from outside of there, I'm just not going to believe you. Shuts off Thursday, 8 p.m. I'll be taking the screenshots to jump into that and be a chance at $1,000 top $1,000 prize for the winner to knock us all off. 743596 is the code to get into that group. Also, guys, we are approaching the halfway point of this season. So there is an SC Playbook subscription price drop. The package, the NRL package, dropping to just $30 for our entire content. Access to everything for the remainder of the 2024 NRL season. If you want to join that community, get amongst our premium content, including the world-famous WhatsApp group. Check out our subscription page. Head to scplaybook.com.au and find the subscription tab in the menu on site. Obviously gets you a ton of extra content, but also supports the podcast for everything that goes into it, creating all this content across the season. All right, guys, on today's show, the topic for this one is just how we're attacking the first major and mini bye rounds, the next 2 weeks being round 13 and round 14. The real early stages of it, looking at things like, do you want to get a stronger squad of 15 players or is 13 okay? Also, we're going to have a big look at the origin players that have been named, of course, for the Blues and the Maroons that are worth holding and worth selling throughout this period. Nicho Hynes being the most sold player this week. That is an enormous decision for Supercoaches to make. Team list Tuesday, major Supercoach ramifications at the Eels as King Gutho and Mitchy Moses return. Hot topics, is it too late to get Jacob Kiraz? Spy talk, the things you may have missed, and then we'll drop our round 13 trades and skippers before wrapping up with a few listener questions. Guys, team list Tuesday. We're not going to go through every origin in and out. We know the players are in or out in that regard. Just quickly as well, if you are sitting there and whether you're an expert at Supercoach, you do a ton of research or you're new to it, particularly if you're new to it, a ton of origin buy planning content on the SC Playbook website out there. Jay Schubert's done one for overall players, buy planning, best draws, players to target and avoid, etc. Maxi Bryden for head-to-head focused players out there trying to beat their mates. It takes a very different shape. He was on the show a few weeks ago and spoke about that. So if you want to go and listen to that as a head-to-head player, how to approach the origin buy period with head-to-head focus in mind, go and have a listen to that. But also there's articles on the site there. All right, let's get into it. Parramatta Eels, Mitchy Moses, Clint Gutherson return. Blaze Talagi, 74% ownership, on a tear, benched. I'm the only one in this room right now that is happy about it, and boy, am I happy about it. We've got 3 owners. I'm the only non-owner. I couldn't believe last week when I saw that he was 74% ownership. It was the one game of the week that I only loosely watched because I was out and about, and I kept track of all sort of certainly the Parramatta tries that were scored, and Talagi just had a hand in bloody everything. And I thought, look, when Gutho comes back, the form Talangi's in, there's every chance that he holds this spot and Gutho gets eased back through centre. I went back, watched the highlights again, looked at the Rabbitohs tries, Blaze Talagi, very poor in defence, and I thought Gutho has to be fullback. It has eventuated that way. Blaze on the bench.
Frustrating. Does he come in late? Maybe does he play centre? Because what happened was the defensive line issues were with him at the back on the line there. Smaller body, still 19 years old. There's less of an issue at centre. You can get off your line and have some grass in behind you to help you out. The thing is, right, they want to re-sign him. They have to want to re-sign him. He's playing really good footy. He's let in a few tries because he's smaller. It's not through lack of effort. Playing centre and just allowing him to do a little bit of sweeping here and there, maybe interchange with Gutho makes sense to me. guess we'll find out. Do they play the first game even, maybe?
First game of the
Yeah,
round,
either way, he's like minus
Sharkies.
21 break even, so you hold him. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but
absolutely hold, yeah.
Yeah, frustrating, but we'll get to it in a bit. But round 14 is really tricky, and you don't need one less number for round 14, so hopefully he does start.
Yes, it made me so happy.
He's
but
also just the biggest freak, though, with the ball in hand. He's unbelievable.
He's a gun. Yeah,
so they need
such a
they just got to lock him up, do it.
I wonder if they do something like, give him a few games off the bench. If they keep losing Parramatta and their season's gone, then they make the switch of Gutho to centre and Blaze to fullback and go.
In 3 or 4 weeks' time, exactly.
Also at the Eels, another one, Joey Lussick, a man that, and look, this sort of stuff happens every year. We know it does, but there was some carnage in the teams round by planning. Joey Lussick still 35% ownership, dropped by the Parramatta Eels. Do either of you two still own?
Thankfully, no.
No. Okay, so that's good news. That's 35% of the top 10% overall ranked Supercoach. So that's another
huge.
dagger. Like, even if you shared the role with Brendan Hands, if you played 40 minutes and scored 30, you take that in a week like this. So 2 massive outs. And those that own Talagi and Joey Lussick, which is going to be a big portion, all of a sudden they might be going, we wanted to save a few trades. We've got to make something to it.
And again, you'll find this week you might be able to cover because you only have to field 13. But next round, I'm telling you, it is that hard. You're down 2 potentially. If you're on the bench, that doesn't really help you. So we'll have to look ahead.
Yeah, Sean Lane benched for the Eels as well. Look, less said about the Lane train, the better this season. I was gloating about Blaze and Lussick being out and how that helps me. Sean Lane, I have held on to him basically for this round, and he's on the bench, and he deserves it as well. Because
For what it's worth, he's actually pretty good in the middle on the weekend. I own Laney as well.
That's
Yeah,
it.
I
So
And he was
both as
looking
well.
to looking to offload. So he might punch out 45, 50 just in those 35 minutes. But yeah, not ideal.
Ryan Madison also on the extended bench. So he's missed the last couple of weeks due to illness, they said. A bit of an odd one, but if he could not play, that'd be great. So we'll see. But look, I'm happy to cop 35-40 from Shawnee Lane. But anyway, at the Newcastle Knights, Kai Pearce-Paul and Dylan Lucas start. As per their last game before their bye, Tyson Frizzell named on the bench. This is great news for Kai Pearce-Paul and the handful of Lucas owners who becomes a bit of an option. But Pearce-Paul, I think he only had the one game where he came off the bench. People panicked and traded. Look, he's a long-term hold, I think, provided he keeps the 80-minute role. Christian Mapapalangi starts at centre for the injured Bradman Best. Clem, Jacob Kiraz. I know he's someone on your radar and on plenty of our radars at the moment. He's been named at centre with Stephen Crichton going to Origin. Now, with his low break-even, it's early 20s, it's not going to change whether you get him in or not, but his scores at centre to start the year, the wing's where you want him in Supercoach, as it is Zach Lomax. And Kiraz's scores, 6 games there at centre to start the season, 49, 47, 115, so he can go big, 36, 41 and 73. You're pretty keen on him regardless.
Yeah, I'm keen on him regardless. Like, I just think he's such a gun, and he's just someone that I look at, and last week when I was watching it, I was actually scared not to own him. And it's that whole thing of not having to get in those players that you're scared to not own. So, and he's such a great number for 13. So, and then ongoing. So, definitely in for me this week, 100%.
Too late, sorry, mate. Kiraz party's closed. Go find somewhere else.
You can have him at centre. He's far. So the king of the junk time points, Nathan Cleary, is injured, and he just passed that baton on to King Kiraz with those 2 late tries the last 2 weeks. I was absolutely filthy about it, especially wanting to beat you, Spy. And then, on what was it, Friday, 6 p.m, I was a Scott Drinkwater, captainer, and a Val Holmes owner. And on the buzzer, Drinky the Lofter, one to Val, I said, okay, I'll give Spy Kiraz as well.
1-1.
1-1. He said, I got 3 in 1 hit with that one. Viliami kick out. Jacob Preston starts. One to potentially ponder, but a couple of decent scores since coming back from injury. So he's mid 500k, and there's not a lot of value there, but in a tough 2RF position, which we'll get to later because 2RF sucks at the moment with certain players out due to Origin. Hughes starts for the Doggies. Sammy Hughes, Josh Curran on the bench. Joshy Curran last week came on. He played like 41 minutes and had like 50-something in base, scored 61. Just a beast. The big one there, probably not going to impact a thing, but Pawaso Farmacelli.
Gives me 17, the big fella.
If he can crash over for a little double in his 8 minutes on field, he might count.
Knock out a quiet 77 in 12 minutes.
Yeah, never know.
Things you love to see.
Wouldn't that be great? Jack Cole starts for the Penrith Panthers. He was in doubt over the weekend due to I believe it was a hamstring niggle or something, but I imagine he still probably is in doubt. One that loomed as a decent buy at 285k, negative 44 break even, scored 90 odd on the weekend. He's 5'8 only, but Spy, Brad Schneider is also back, named to return early from injury. Look, I think there's every chance that Jerome Luai rests next week. So, like, Cole maybe gets next week as well. But after that, based on what they did earlier in the season, it was Schneider and Luai when Cleary's out. So I think it's probably a 2-week play max. Cleary to come back as well. So I think it's probably a trap. You could maybe do it as a couple of week cash grab and a number this week. But then if Luai did play next week, you might be short again. I think it's a bit risky.
I wouldn't do it with round 14 looming. Just quickly, let's flick back one note quickly. Probably the only one that still owns him, but Drewy Hutchison in the 6th jersey.
Of course, I didn't even mention it. But
anyway, he's about 3% owned. Still got him. Carry on.
yes. Drewy Hutcho. You know,
plays 13, 14 and 16. He might not play next week, but if Birdo didn't, if he played Origin or something, it's all happening.
What a win, Spy.
I know.
Trey Fuller in for Hamiso Tabuai-Fido at the Dolphins at fullback. As expected, good news for the Kuma Stallions there. At the Canberra Raiders, Hudson Young out. Atta Mariota onto the edge. Simi Sasagi onto the bench. Now, it sounds like a very nothing sort of scenario here, but I'm pretty sure there's one person who still owns Mariota out there, and there's one person who owns Sasangi. Now, said Sasangi owner messaged me this morning and said, what are the chances Sasangi starts for Hudson Young? And I said, I think it's probably going to be Mariota, but wait and see. Got into the studio today, and the one Mariota owner said to me, Mariota starting edge, how good's this? I present you the one utter Mariota owner on the edge, Matty Buxton, and Simi Sasangi is rugby league guru, so you've got a big win here, mate.
Sucked in, Guru. Sucked in. I've been planning for this since 5 weeks before round 1.
It pays to buy plan, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So, Guru, if you're needing tips, you've got my number. I actually forget when I even bought Mariota, to be honest. But yeah, I love him as a player. I just wish he'd play more minutes.
Did you start the season with him by chance, or did you buy him?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I've touted him as a bit of a buy early on in the year, and he sort of started a little bit slow off the bench, but then he'd get minutes and he'd lose them. And
I don't feel like I would have bought him.
Yeah,
I reckon I started with him
because like everyone was scraping for that fourth front row forward to start. So
that's
maybe
true.
Started with him.
I think I might have started with him.
Yeah,
so
how good.
2-0 because I didn't have to buy him.
Lucky last at the Roosters. Terrell May starts. Now, not a shock here with, Spencer Leniu, Lindsay Collins on Origin duty, but the bench here, Sandon Smith, a halfback / hooker. Obviously, Brandon Smith can spend time at lock in that middle rotation, but Josh Wong, Sir Wong, he has been spending time as a middle in New South Wales Cup, but still primarily an edge. Satilia Tupanua, an edge back rower, can also play time in the middle, but primarily an edge. And then Michael Jennings, who's a centre. Now, firstly, I'm not convinced they run out like this, but if they do, Clem, this means great things for the minutes of Terrell May, who I think the Spy over there sold him, so I won't throw to him. But as Terrell May owners, I can see him getting good minutes in this if the team stays as named. Sort of expected a few weeks ago that Terrell May was going to be played through good minutes throughout the Origin period with players out. I think it's his time.
I think it's his time too, and I absolutely held him for this. So the Supercoach gods have taken away with Blaze, but they've given back with Terrell May. I am so stoked to have him. I literally think he's going to absolutely kill it over the next few rounds, and just amazing.
Not next week when he doesn't play,
but
right.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me to see, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a plan from Trent Robinson that he's just gone, look, we've got so much forward depth. Terrell May, we've seen weeks where he's only played 30 minutes due to their forward depth, and they haven't needed to play in bigger minutes, but they're also going, mate, rounds 13 through sort of 20, we need you big time so that we can give up Lindsay Collins, Spencer Leniu, etc. rest. So I think he's in for a big 6 weeks, Spy.
I'll give you the hot tip, guys. I'm not happy about it. I saw that bench and went, please don't be it. But,
yeah.
We'll see. I made my bed.
Moving on from Team List Tuesday. And Clem, just a couple of magic round moments to recap. We had Spy's takes from last week, and yours will probably differ quite a lot to his, but it was one of the great weekends. It is each and every year. Couldn't recommend to people to get up there anymore, but what'd you find of it? And let's just start with the headline moment. Top floor Caxton Saturday night.
So I was sitting upstairs at the Caxton, I think on a table with you, and who should walk up the stairs but Nicho Hynes. Oh my God. I literally just spontaneously combusted. I could literally not do anything else. I was in the corner right on the table next to you and you were just laughing at me and I'm just sitting there going, oh my God.
For context, really quiet, like probably 15 people in the room and it's about 3 metres away from Clem's.
And then someone went over to him and said, that girl like is like your biggest fan or something. And she's like always on about like she's got your hair gel or something like that. And we just like, he just looked at me and laughed and I just laughed and that was literally all I could do. And then I was like, I really need to carry like hair gel or something in my purse for this exact moment. I could have walked up and asked if I could have a little bit of a gelling. Like you never know. He might have said yes.
Nothing creepy at all, just a casual little
Nothing creepy
gelling.
at all, just a casual gelling.
Nico's a man of the people. He'd go for it.
Well,
just
we
quietly.
definitely shared a laugh and a smile.
No wonder on like Monday and Tuesday you're like, I'm ready for Magic Round again. Let's go. Like,
give me
it's all
Nico
falling
round
into
two.
place.
But yeah, definitely just spontaneously combusted. I'm so smooth. Like honestly.
For those playing at home, Nicho wasn't on the beers, they were there. It was weird. A few of the Sharkies boys rocked up for about 10 minutes and they were gone. So
I can't figure out why. Interesting. Why they left.
I'm scared off. Nicho just turned around and went to Mulitalo. Mate, we're going to get out of here. Clem, any other standout moments from the weekend?
Well, I think the biggest standout is just like all the legends that you meet, all the people that you meet. Like everyone is so cool and everyone's on such a high and it's such a great vibe. We met some like absolute legends. So there's a few like Geordie, the guy that we hung out with 2 days in a row. Like he was like an MVP. He was so good.
Looked after us.
The boys celebrating their friend Tim's 18th. Like they were so cool. George, who manifested Armstrong's ton. Like so I promised to give him a shout out on the potty. Like those guys were awesome. So
Kept talking about George. I'm like, and they went through some videos. By the way, the reel is coming and I've seen it. It's unbelievable.
The Magic Round recap.
It's so good. But I'm like, who's this guy on the dance floor? Like, he was the best. And Clementine's like,
George.
that's George. I'm like, I love him.
Yeah, so much fun. The Caxton dance floor, that's another one. Like Saturday night on the Caxton dance floor. What an absolute time that was. That was
Wow.
epic.
You two and physio,
Playing just
eh?
like all the bangers.
No, he bailed
like,
early.
me
Tried
and
to give
Spy
to me
were
on
just
Twitter
there
about
till
not backing up.
And then you couldn't handle
You
it.
played 27 minutes off the bench.
such a vibe. And then I have to say, we were sitting at the Lord Alfred and the boys asked me who my favourite NRL personality was. And I was like, oh, Matty Johns. And then I was like, oh, Joel Kane, the guy. And he was on the Sportsbet ad, right? And then not more than 5 minutes later, I kid you not, he appeared behind us in the window of the Lord Alfred. And then Spy just went running out the Lord Alfred, went running around down the street. And I just had a full-on fangirl moment.
Behind
He
the
is
street. It was like
legitimately-
5 metres out the door, but yeah.
He is legitimately, he is legitimately my favourite NRL personality.
He's an all-timer.
Of all time. Absolutely love him. Absolutely love listening to them commentating the games on the radio on a Friday night. Like so good.
Yeah,
like
he's a ripper.
He made the reel, didn't he? I'm sure he did.
we'll
get him
definitely
in.
Made the reel.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of my top.
Do we have a
moments.
release date for the reel or not yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Don't put added pressure on.
Yeah, don't put added pressure on me.
Anything else to touch on there, Clem? All good?
I just think that's it. I just think just the vibe and just the people that go. And if you can get to Magic Round next year, just do it. It's like
Yeah.
better than Christmas. Like it's like amazing weekend.
It is
Yeah.
an absolute
Yeah.
cracker. Alrighty, let's get stuck into our topic for today's show. And it is short-term buy plan. We've spoken about the long-term sort of stuff, but there's a lot of people this week asking themselves questions. So we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of round 13 especially, but also in round 14, which there are some D-ramas ahead with that one for people that haven't looked ahead yet and counted, particularly their Roosters players, because it's going to be a tough week. And if there's origin restings, especially now that Dylan Edwards, highly owned, has been picked, it's going to be tough yards. So I'm going to talk about how we're attacking these first major. When we refer to major buy-ins, it's round 13, 16 and 19. When we refer to mini buy rounds, it is round 14, 17 and 20. Half the competition are on buys in the major ones. 3 teams are on the buy in the mini buy rounds. Quick reminder, your top 13 scorers from your squad this week count towards your overall total. If you have 17 scorers and your mate has 13, you're not going to get 4 extra scorers than he will. It's just your top 13. You also get an extra boost, a third trade to utilise in those major buy rounds. It doesn't count as a boost or anything like that. Those over at Supercoach HQ are friendly to us with all the carnage that goes on and the player outs, and they give us an extra trade. Now, Spy, I'll start with you, mate. Round 13 and 14, numbers check. How are you looking so far?
As things stand, pre-trades, I have 16 this week, which is madness, which is fine, but also a little frustrating because I'm like, I don't need that many.
It's too many.
But it's good depth in terms of like if there's a couple of HIAs or a laid out, you're covered then.
I know you said you well set up for round 16 as well, which I am too. And when you said you had 17, I was like, far out. Like,
Yeah,
how you going for 16?
So that means round 14, this is where it gets tricky. I have 15 players at the moment, which includes Reece Robson backing up, which he did last year, and Blaze on the bench.
They're among your 15.
Yeah.
You're a shot dark with no boost.
Yeah, but we'll get to that. Always thinking. So what it does mean is, look how excited he is. Comebacks on, which means...
He's got to trade this week. He's going to have none less. He has to.
Yeah, well, that's fine. So I'm going to take Blaze out of that conversation for now. Say he's not a player.
Yep.
If he's on the bench, doesn't help me. Would give me 14 with Reece Robbo. I'm sort of hoping, even if he plays 40 or 50, which he typically does, he did last year, so do it again. I'll need to add 3 guys to my squad between now and next week.
Oof. I think the Cowboys need Robson to back up. It's a bugger for you that they didn't go like a genuine hooking rotation because it means he's playing big minutes.
Hopefully McInnes has a few in there, but we'll see. For what it's worth, I think he played 80 last year or heaps and then backed up for the Cows.
Yeah,
so
I think they need him
he's
too.
a fit bugger. I'm going to need to use 3 trades.
They play Saturday as well, so they've got, if it was Friday, you'd be in licorice all sorts, but he's got 3 days. So that helps.
He'll do it for me. I've got faith. But what I'm going to do is, because I don't have a boost, but I'm adaptable, I'll use my 2 trades next week to get up to what will be 16 players, and I'll preempt 1 trade this week. Just get it done.
And that's an interesting point you make, Spy, because there was a question here from someone asking just that, and it was from Big Boy. So shout out to Big Boy. Thoughts on making a trade this week to save you, help you for next week, and it's exactly what you're doing.
I might even make 2. Like legitimately, I know I want these guys anyway, which we'll get to down the line here. But I might even just make 2 preemptive trades. They're not playing this weekend. If they get hurt in training, well, so be it. But they're not playing a game.
If you luck's out, you luck's out. Surely not.
And then I will also be adding a certain round 17 number, I think, but we'll get to that later. But that's where I'm at. Do come back to me for round 16 and 19 because I've got to look ahead, but that's it for now. And we can chat you too.
Honestly, we've done that. We're 13 and 14 here, Spy. We're all good.
All good.
Clem.
Can I make one quick point on that then?
No.
It's freaking hard.
Yeah.
Like
my round, I've already got. So we'll get to more on Dave Fafita soon, but thank you. I'm set. I've already got like 14 or 15 for round 16. Yeah, I'm super set. Round 19, that's the troublesome one, but there's a lot of time to get played.
All I was going to say is, we don't have to get into it, but look ahead to how many you've got. I don't have many, so any of my trades I'm preempting, I want to make sure they play a lot of those rounds as well, if you're preempting.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams like that are on the 13 and 19. 16 will be tough-ish, but 19's the real hard one. So, and the other thing, teams that are playing around 13 and 16, so I'm thinking like the Roosters, the Raiders, they're all teams on the bye next week. So I think you're probably better off looking at teams playing, if you want trades this week and numbers this week, 13, 14 and 19.
Yep, love it.
So like, anyway, we'll get to it. I like Dragons, Sharks, etc. Anyway,
but carry on, just worth a note.
Yeah. Clem, how are you looking?
So I'm actually looking pretty good. So round 13, I will have 14. Now, the reason being is I'm actually making 2 trades this week, but I'm trading out 2 of my Origin players to get in, obviously, Kiraz, because I think he's such a gun, and then I'm also going to get in Curran. So I feel pretty good for round 13, and then round 14, I will be making 1 more trade, and I will have 18, not including Origin players. So I think I've planned it okay, and I've saved 2 boosts as well. So I've got boosts to use as well.
Beautiful. So you set up well, yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling confident for these buy rounds. It was one thing that I wanted to work on this year because I definitely the buy rounds just had me last year. So that was one key thing that I wanted to work on, make sure that I was set up and good to go. Good to hear.
I am 15 for this week. The 15th is Farmer Silly, so irrelevant. So 14, but the 14 are all like quite quality. I think my 14th man, based on like strength of player and like positioning, would be Sean Lane. So him being benched isn't ideal, but yeah, if he's playing middle, as you said, Spy, and can punch through some decent work and offload a bit.
Do you have Smithies still?
Yeah.
I'm the same, so I got those two.
Yeah.
So
So
a little bit of a weaker 13, 14, but you only need one of them to get you 45.
exactly right. And look, Hudson out, Mariota to the edge. They're a bit lighter on in the middle. He seems, Smithies, Ricky Stewart in tighter games seems to play Smithies in bigger minutes. When it's a blowout, he just doesn't really bother bringing him back on for that biggest second stint.
Just need the big fella running again. He's just getting back to that tip on, but
I've got 15 for this week. That's pre-trades. And then for next week, I need to double check this if I included Robson in this or not. I think I did. But I think I'm 17 with Robson. And I've already eyed off my 2 trades next week. And one will be Angus Crichton to Eli Katoa. And then my other one, I've got to look at a few things, but maybe like a Fuller to a gun fullback, which would give me 19. But yeah, I did rule out like people who I didn't think would be backing up and a few others. So numbers are pretty good, but with the 2 trades, I want to save my boost until that sort of around 2021, but I do have that up the sleeve if need be, because it is going to be a tricky round, and with any injuries, it could be potentially very tricky. If you do, Spy, have... I suppose first question, is 13 players a must this week? If you're sitting there with 11 or 12 and they're relatively strong and you're going, I kind of wanted to save trades, do you think it's a must?
I think you'd want it, yeah.
Especially when you know everyone's got 13.
Everyone's got full
It's
squads.
been different in other years where a lot of other people have had sort of 10 or 11 and you can go, all right, everyone's in the same boat. But when everyone's got them this year...
Especially when it's easy to grab a bloke who plays around 13... and 16.
Yeah.
You can cover 2 in one shot. So, yeah, I think you'd want 13 for sure. Maybe different in the other weeks, potentially, but yeah.
Okay, second one. Let's say you're sitting at that 13, 14, maybe 15 mark, between 13 to 15. Would you make trades to strengthen your team? So, for example, like a Nicho to a Sam Walker, a Dylan Edwards to a Teddy. It might even be like someone in your squad who's non-active this week, not necessarily a gun, but have offer coverage later on, and you can get them to like a Teddy or something. Because for me, I'm in this situation, and we'll get to my trade plans later on, but I really want to, and my plan for a while has been to save trades this week. I could sit there and I could make a really strong trade and get in a gun, like, for example, let's say a Sam Walker, but I'm going, it's going to give me like 16 players. I think I just want to scrap through this week, get my 13 on field, focus on round 16 and 19 as well as next week, bank a few trades, and, if my score's 30 or 40 points lower as a result, I think I'm happy with that. What do you reckon?
Super torn because logically I wouldn't want to make trades, but James Tedesco is very alluring.
Oh, isn't he?
Especially when, like, I own Reece Walsh, for example, and look, maybe he backs up, but I find it tricky to believe he'd back up when he didn't play last week after a week's recovery. So he's going to play Origin.
He's also been hobbling around. Even on the weekend, he'd hobble, and then he'd just take off
explode and then hobble.
Yeah, so
I find it hard to bank on him, and that's my big one, ladies and gentlemen. Walsh to Teddy. I just think I need to do it. I've also looked ahead for what it's worth on Teddy. Doesn't play next weekend, which does hurt me, potentially, but plays 16, which is a very handy number for my squad. But looking ahead, the Roosters run home is insane. It is insane. And Teddy got knocked out that game against the Doggies in the monsoon. Take that game out, he's averaging 90.7.
I know.
Like, I think I just have to get him. It's not even a buy planning number. It's just I want him because he's killing it.
I'm a Drinkwater and Trey Fuller owner.
Oh.
Yeah, so I can't I can't justify doing it.
Yeah.
But look, Teddy's break-even's early 20s, so I'm like... He's still viable around 15, right?
Oh, he definitely is.
Like,
you could lock him in around 15 for the season.
The other thing about that is if Dylan Edwards, God forbid, has a stinker in Origin, and you go, all right, well, Teddy probably plays game 2. So at least we got to look at that as well.
Yeah.
But if Edwards plays solid, which I'm sure he will, and he goes, all right, he probably holds that spot, especially if the Blues win, you go, all right, we're going to get Teddy for round 16.
Yep.
So, yeah. Clem, anything to add?
Not really. I definitely would strengthen though.
You would?
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of doing that at the moment. I actually have 14, I think, so I'm not sure what
So how many do you have before trades this week?
So before trades, I have 13. So yeah, so I'm strengthening my team by getting in Kiraz. So yeah, I definitely would. I just think that these bye rounds, you can take like a big leap up the rankings, and the points are so close. Like it is big moving.
It is tight still this
moving
year.
rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely I would do like bring in a Teddy or, you know, trade Nicho to someone. I'm trading out Reese to Kiraz to strengthen my
Teddy's
team.
a captaincy option as well. It's pretty quiet on the captaincy front. So
is, yeah.
if you number 130 times 2, you're laughing.
And I must also include I do have Danny Levi as one of my numbers as well.
Look, there'll be a few of those floating
Yeah.
around.
How about that question before? Clementine's like, not really anything to add, but definitely.
But definitely,
But also I'm going against everything you just said.
can you tell it's been like a long day at work?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I'm going to try and just get through this round and bank those trades. And I think, I mean, I've got 15 players, so I'm well set up, but I'm just thinking if I can do that, I'm going to feel bloody good about it next week.
And the thing about my trades I'm using preemptively, I'm definitely doing them anyway. So it's not like I'm suddenly using these extra trades I didn't plan on. The only reason it would hurt me is if suddenly they got hurt at training. I'd be like, well, feck. But I'm banking on that not happening.
Yeah. The different one that I will be, if I wasn't in my fullback scenario, I probably would try to get James Tedesco this week. But again, I also have plenty of Roosters in my team. I don't really want another one for 14.
Got to be so careful of the chookies.
Yeah.
Add a few after 14, as you said.
Hey, let's have a look at the most... Going a little bit early on some of the most sold players for this week, but we're looking at the Origin players who have been named for the Blues and the Maroons. Would we look to hold them or would we look to sell them? And the first one, and it's potentially a season-defining decision, Nicho Hynes at 984k. He's got a break-even of 190 off his 3 last round. Like he's going to plummet in cash. He's no guarantee to play Origin. He's no guarantee to back up the week after against the Broncos. Spy, I'll go to you first. The only thing is with Nicho, and before I give you my thoughts, after Origin, they play the Broncos. They then go Dolphins, bye in round 16, which he'd likely be missing to Origin anyway. Bulldogs, Titans, Tigers. Tigers is Origin 3, but he's also no lock to be in that game. Round 20 bye. So let's say he does stay in the Origin arena. He misses 13, 16, 19 and 20. He's missing a lot of games, but then Cowboys, Bunnies, Titans, Knights, Dragons, Warriors, Manly, like their draw after Brisbane is incredible. So at the very least, everyone's going to buy him back. Hold or sell?
I think I'll be selling, but with a view to 100% getting back in the 800Ks. I think I've just punched in 2 scores of 90, sees him available at 820K in 2 games' time, which is insane. So whoever your halfback is that you've got running around, you can probably just straight swap him back. And the thing is, you're already using trades over the bye period, right, to cover positions.
Yeah.
You do this, you free up all that cash for a better upgrade. And then once you get back at the end of the Origin period, or if he misses out on Origin 3 and you need him back, you just whip him straight back in. I'm so comfortable to do it. I don't trust the calf. He played, 30 minutes on the weekend. If he was...
He could have come back on from that.
Could be he didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's bad enough that he didn't go back on. I know they'll get
concerning
smoked,
enough,
but
yeah.
So for me, I'm definitely selling. Happy to see him drop in price. The one game I don't love, where was it there, is round 18 Gold Coast. Hopefully the Blues are up 2-0 by then. They give him a spell for Origin 3 and we get him back. But yeah, I'm selling.
Yeah, like Brisbane at Suncorp round 14. There's every chance Brisbane rest players for that as well.
I don't think he'll play 14 and 17 though, either.
You
Half after Origin. Yeah, that's sort of what I'm somewhat
It's
banking
so
on.
hard because I'm like, if he can't shoulder a big training load, the Blues, they've got Keary on standby.
Won't play him.
He could play...
However, I don't think you should sell him this week. That's my caveat.
Oh!
So you want to see what happens next week. If we, God forbid, get belted, Moses will come in. That's probably every chance, which means you'll then have him available.
That chat from you, Spy.
And just chill, let it play out, go from there.
Because, Seb, largely we're pretty well set up anyway. So then you go, first you can see if he fronts up against the Broncos, what happens in Origin. Doesn't play around 16 anyway, but yeah, if we do get done, Moses will come in for him. I think it's as simple as that, isn't
And
it?
obviously may play well, but that's a likely scenario. The other thing is, if we say he doesn't play for the Blues because he's not healthy, he then probably plays for Cronulla a week and a half later.
He will, yeah.
Plays 2 games. If we win game 1 without him, he won't play Origin 2 anyway. So, there's a lot of viability just to hold him this week.
So then he plays 14, 15, misses 16, plays 17 plays 15 against the Dolphins, by 17 against the Dogs, 18 against the Titans, and then potentially round 19
Which
Tigers.
is huge. So, I think you'd just hold him this week. Yeah, that's where we've landed.
I like it.
So do I. You rattled me a bit giving me that compliment.
Yeah.
Had to stop.
Well, it's because I was in two minds a little bit. I was thinking of holding, but then I was, the argument to sell is so obvious. But I was like, I think I'm going to hold, but then I can do it next week.
Yep.
Clem?
Yeah, I literally had the same thing. I basically had here that I won't be selling him this week.
Turn that round, are you sure?
But I can see the merit in moving him on. That's like nearly $1 million just sitting on your bench if he does play and if you're not playing him over those rounds. And I'm all for offloading players and not just having big money just sitting there on your bench if they're not playing. So, yeah, you could get like a couple of absolute guns. Like
You're thinking
spaces.
Next week, though, or this week?
Next week. So I'd definitely wait. I wouldn't do it this week.
Matty,
Nicho
Hines, 984K, calf issue, Origin, this, that, whatnot. Are you thinking hold? Are you thinking sell?
I hadn't thought of it until 5 seconds ago, but I wouldn't do it now. I'd keep him now for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no way.
If I lose you in Supercoach this year, I'm just going to flip it.
Huge.
Oh, God. I like the next week shout. Just sit on it for a week, reassess things. I get the temptation of the Sam Walker trade this week, but I think it's a sit and wait. Angus Crichton, 853K, 123 break even. I've said for about 6 weeks that as soon as he got back into that Origin frame and within about a month ago, he was almost locked into it. Missing just round 13, 14, 16, 19, 23. I think he plays reduced minutes and probably doesn't back up from maybe Origin 2 and 3 potentially because of the Roosters back row depth. Clem, I think he is a sell. I'm going to do it next week. What are you thinking?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to be trading him next week, and I'm going to be going straight to David Fafita. I just think it's a pretty obvious trade. He's only going to be playing a couple of games likely, and you just don't want that big amount of cash just sitting there. But yeah, definitely an easy trade there. Bank those points over the buy rounds.
Ditto, Spy?
Ditto, except I'd nearly look to sell this week just to get ahead of the game.
This week is the better play.
But, sorry, I was going to say 2 for Fafita. It's the same thing as the Hines scenario, though. If Queensland lose, you go, well, Fafita's probably going to come in. So I just want to sit on that. But I think it's a good
In
next
which case, Fafita then misses, I believe, 16, 17, 19. I'm pretty sure he is. I think I've got the buy in round 17, the Titans. So, yeah, it is one. Again,
But, yeah, if you have to sell him for anyone this week, if you want to get someone in,
that Fafita trade, they've got the buy around 17, the Titans. That Fafita trade, especially if it's Crichton to Fafita, neither play this week. You obviously don't make it this week. Oh, in saying that, in your logic of getting ahead of the game...
That's when he could do it. But I'd hate to buy Fafita, then he comes into Origin. So if it's Gus to anyone else this week, don't mind it now. Otherwise, probably next week.
It's very fascinating, isn't it? Because if the Maroons do get done... You'd be very brave to not pick Fafita game 2, in which case...
When they get done. Let's talk reels.
When they get done...
So Fafita's playing Origin 2 and 3.
Yeah. In which case he only plays around 14 and 15 and 18. So it's like he probably doesn't become a buy until after Origin.
If I knew he was playing Origin 2, I wouldn't buy him at all. No way.
Huge.
Bo Firma.
Zach Lomax.
My man.
676K, 75 average, 85 break even. Lots of people selling. So Nicho's most traded out player this week. Angus Crichton second, Zach Lomax third. I think he's a hold. My one concern is that when Jack Bird has been out all sully this season, he's gone to centre where he is not a 75 averaging player. He's on a new level this season, but he's playing on the wing. He's scoring a lot of tries outside Ben Hunt. He's not going to average 75 at centre, I don't think, Spy. I think he's a hold, but at the same time, I'm like, if you're Shane Flanagan, with how good he's been on the wing this year, they've got a lot of people they can play at centre. Surely you find someone else. But he hasn't so far.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? But also Zachy wants to play centre, doesn't he? So
He does.
He might hold some sway there. Ideally, you'd probably just hold this week, see how things unfold. Same thing with him. If we lose the Mighty Blues, then he might not play the other Origins, and he's great coverage. So maybe just wait and see what teams are next week, see how Origin unfolds, go from there.
I think he's a hold regardless. And I often look at these sort of hold v sell situations with Origin players and go, how's the team going? Firstly, how's the team going? Do they need them to back up? Or is it a Broncos or a Storm or a Panthers where they can afford to rest players? And secondly, what position do they play? Are they a winger who's, to be fair, wingers run 200 metres these days, but 200 metres and 3 tackles, or is it like a hooker that's going to play 30 minutes, or a bench forward who's going to play 30 minutes, or a centre who's going to have 8 runs? You work it out. What's the load going to be like? Will they back up?
Yeah, and to counter that, though, you'll find there's a lot of centres coming up in the next few weeks. So you might not need a spot for Lomax in a lesser side. So, yeah.
Number 7 most traded out, Reece Walsh, 718k, 71 point average, 18 break even. I sold at Magic Round, a few reasons behind it, but was in doubt all week for that Titans matchup. I was so desperate to see him not play. Slid through twice in the first 10 minutes, and you just went, this just could be an enormous score. And to be fair, I was like, he probably scores 140 in this game before the game kicked off. Titans dug in. Walsh had a very quiet second half, ended up at about 113. Clem, you're looking at cutting ties with Reece Walsh this week.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking at upgrading him to Kiraz. Not really an upgrade, but changing him to Kiraz. I just feel like I'd rather bank the points. There's no guarantee that he's going to back up with injury concern and things like that. The Broncos probably don't really need him to. So, yeah, I'm happy to cut ties and then look at how he's going after Origin.
You're thinking similar?
Gone.
But
how about on Sunday in that game? Didn't goal kick, which was a massive shame because that just automatically goes to 130 odd.
Yeah.
They barely got in the red zone against the Titans. Gold Coast, as you said, dug in. Every time Reece went inside the 20, within about 3 tackles, just went, done.
Yeah.
It could have been 5 billion.
Could have been 5 billion. I'll throw another one at you. He did all of his damage burning Beau Fermor at centre. And then when Tony Francis went down injured, Dave Fafita also spent time defending at centre. It was straight through them too. If they had 2 actual bloody centres defending there.
Oh, that's what I mean, though. In the given scenario, if Titans didn't control that possession and territory, holy dooly.
Yeah, it could have been 200.
Yeah. He also based 8. Yeah. So he's such a funny one.
It's an interesting
fun to own.
Look, I'm not as confident that he's a sell. I sold him Magic Round knowing that he'd miss round 11, round 13, potentially last week. Potentially doesn't back up after Origin, but in terms of Origin schedules, the Broncos have the buys this week and then round 16, which he's out to Origin anyway. If he does back up, he plays 14, 15, 17, 18, 20. So I don't think he's a definite sold that people are thinking. That being said, a move to Teddy looks pretty good.
For what it's worth, if Teddy wasn't available this week, I'd be holding Reece for sure.
I think that's a fair call.
They run into South round 15, happy days, but with Teddy available, I just think that's the smart money.
Yeah. Ruben Cotter, 10th most sold. Clem will be chatting about him a little bit later. Dylan Edwards, 13th most sold, 950k, 96 point per game, 64 break even. I've said for a long time it's the reason that I've avoided Dylan Edwards reluctantly because he keeps belting out tons. But Clem, I have thought for a while that Penrith players don't back up from Origin. So I think Edwards misses 13, 14, 16, 19, provided he gets through the whole series. I think you could say that about all the Panthers players. They rested after Origin last year. Nathan Cleary's just come back from injury early and done his hammy again. I just think they're mad to play them. Dylan Edwards, hold or sell?
I would probably sell. I kind of agree. I think that I feel like they're not going to back up either. And so I just think just sell to Teddy, bank some points. You may as well. And then if you can, bring him back after Origin. Yeah, definitely for me, it's a sell, but do what your gut's telling you. Definitely.
And that it's all speculative that whether they back up or not, but I feel pretty strongly that I think he and the Penrith boys will sit out of it. Especially, I think he's played every game this year. He runs for 250 metres. I think he'll probably do similar in Origin. I hope he does. Spy, what would you do as a Dylan Edwards owner?
I think he's just built different, Edwards. He might just keep running and running and running forever.
He might, yeah.
But, it's a lot of cash that you can do good things with, isn't it?
Yeah.
You probably... That's the other thing. If you want to hold this week, see if he's known to back up next week, see if he plays.
I think the thing is that the trade, you could hold, but I think the trade's Teddy this week, isn't it?
If you're getting Teddy, just get Teddy. That's happy days.
You'd go to Teddy.
Yeah, for sure.
Harry Grant, 14th most, 672k, 66 points per game. Tommy did, number 15, 573. Look, I think if I owned Harry Grant, I'd probably just hold through this period, sharing the rotation with Benny Hunt. Oh, it's tough.
I do forget that he's not playing. He's not the 80
He's not
minute
playing
hooker.
80.
Yeah. Really be happy to hold, especially if you can get yourself a little backup hooker like Brayley or someone just to do a job.
Who's covering stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think probably a hold Harry Grant. I can see merit in trading to like a Marshall King or someone, but and Tommy did, and at 573k, look, he's a bloke I think backs up for the Cowboys. He's in the 5'8" position, scoring well enough. I can see why you'd sell. Like if you can flip him to say a Sam Walker or someone, I get the trade, but I think he'll back up for the Cows. He only misses 13, 16, 19, so he'll play most games. Yeah.
As long as he's not mentally broken from the shellacking at the hands of the Mighty Blues.
That could do it.
That's my only concern for him.
That could do it. Guys, housing loans and Supercoach trading have a lot in common. Plenty in common, some would say. Sometimes the rates soar, much like Nicho's break-even of 190, and you think, shit, you don't know what to do. You hit the panic button, you trade, and you regret the move immediately. Sometimes the rates look like David Armstrong's negative 54 break-even, and you're absolutely filling your pockets. Some of the numbers going around are pretty daunting after the RBA's announcement a few weeks back, but there's help available with Mortgage Choice SCW. So whether it's an investment property or the place that you're living in, the team can run the numbers to work out how much they can save you on your loan. Once Paddy's done with his work, Nicho's break-even will look a lot more like negative 54, and your repayments will be much the same. To get in touch with them, flick them a message on Instagram at mortgagechoice_SCW or call them on 02 9521 1611, no matter where in Australia you're based. Normally, as well, it'll cost you $129, but because you mention SC Playbook when you get in touch, it'll be completely free of charge. Now, hot topics for the week. And to be honest, we've covered a lot of them around the sells because they were basically all done. But the most traded in players, James Tedesco, we've spoken about, 824k, 83 points per game average. Spy mentioned over 90 if you take out that doggies head knock game. Just looks like a great buy and probably remains a good buy after round 14. No more on him. Sammy Walker, 685k, 62 points per game average, 69 break even. Another one we've spoken at nauseum about, the Roosters great draw, plays this week, turned on the weekend. Sammy Walker, good buy. You got him last week, Spy?
Sammy Walker, no, I didn't because of round 14.
Right.
Yeah, ended up costing myself about 65 points. But again, if I'm short next week, that sort of evens out in the run. But he looks good.
Number 3, Jacob Kiraz, 799k, 76 points per game. We have spoken about him. Number 4, David Armstrong, 388k, 71 points per game average, negative 53 break even. A lot of questions. Is it too late on him? Absolutely not. The Knights had the bye last week. They've got a terrific bye period draw from now onwards. Clem, he's dual position as well. Dual CT dub fullback. I wrote in my team analysis article today that if Ponga was out for the season, Armstrong would be a borderline keeper. Too late or not?
No way. Bring him in.
Yeah.
I just have no way of bringing him in. Otherwise, I would be.
Yeah. Spy number 5th most traded in. Nafu wide at 379k. Starting lock for the Roosters. Dual front row forward, 2RF. Break even of 15. Just an interesting one that sort of came from nowhere a little bit because he earned that starting position, but there's Connor Watson to return for starters, but bit of money incoming. He scored 73 points in 67 minutes on the weekend against the Raiders with a lot of points in that game, break even of 53. Obviously covers round 13 and 16. Misses next week. I see merit in it, but there's not really any attack in him. He's got a bit of an offload on him. I get it, but just add another Rooster that's going to be out next week. I'm not overly keen.
That's the issue. Connor may well be due back around 15, so basically the next game of this round. I think he looks a hell of a player in the real NRL. But he may well just go in there and sort of, like he's handy this week, but if you've already got 13, he's not adding that much more to your side. Even if he knocks out 70, and you might just get a little bit stuck with him. I didn't mind the idea of like a Joey Chan to him and just get that extra number. But again, if I'm using an extra trade and I don't really need him, I'm not super keen. He won't let you down too much, but don't trade out someone playing next week for him because I think it'll hurt you in the long run.
Yeah. And you look at his minutes, 67 last week, but before that, his minutes were 35, 32, 38, 26, 31, 31, 21. There are so many gun forwards. And I get that he's like an origin purchase, much like we think Terrell May will get bigger minutes. Just Connor Watson's the
You might find it's a two-trade scenario. You might get him in and say, oh, he hasn't done all that much for me. He had one good round in round 13, and then you've got to trade him out because he's annoying you.
When Connor Watson comes back round 15, like, he'll probably start hooker. Cheese goes into that middle rotation. I'm not a fan.
It's all risky at the Roosters with that pack.
Number 6, I assume this has changed from when I wrote this afternoon, but Val Holmes, 6-match trade-in player. Very interesting, considering not playing this week. I suppose by people on your bandwagon of getting ahead of the game for next week, but what if he does get a knock in Origin? What if they do say, Todd Payton says, no, mate, like, just have a rest. You've been going like a bat out of hell all season, running harder than peak bloody Carmichael Hunt.
Peak Special K, how good.
Yeah.
It's a risky ball game, that's for sure.
Yeah, nah.
Yep.
Pass.
Unless you have to get ahead of next week. But
Number 8, Joey Manu, 838K, 70 break even. Spy, you put out a tweet that got a bit of traction during the week. The king of Twitter, some might say, you Spy. And on Instagram these days as well, SC Spy 7. Yeah, give him a follow.
I am indeed. Number 7, looking to build as we get on. I've actually just hit quickly. Funny you mentioned that. Now, Magic Round's finished. It's almost like my official start of winter, where I can actually settle down into the footy season properly. So look for the gram stuff to rise, people.
Oh, God.
Social media superstar.
Look out. But what you did pose, Spy, was that this was last week before Origin selections. If James Tedesco misses Origin and Joey Manu stays at centre, is there an antipod play there? Because we know he's a gun and we know he's very good at centre, but he's never been a must-have at centre, I do not think. I mean, the scores back it up. Very good, but at 838K, it's a lot of money. Where did you end up buying him last week?
I did. Thankfully, you got that double.
Yeah.
But I still think there's merit. He's averaging 84, which has to be overs. He's got his 2 fullback games where he scored tons.
Yeah.
He's on fire, but I also think the Chooks are on fire. So
that's the concern, is that they're so good.
Now I've seen their run. Yeah, I think he's a buy, but he's not a must-have. Like, he's the kind of bloke you could say, you know what, I'm going to go against him. You'd need Teddy to stay healthy, because the thing about not owning Joey, as soon as Teddy, anything happens, you're like, oh, God, I can't watch this game anymore. So I still think he's a trade-in for sure. But, I mean, there's some merit if you're in the risky department and want to have a crack. It's not like he'll definitely average 84 for the year. He could go back to a 70 and he could be okay.
Yeah. Word for word in my article today, I said the same. Spy. I said, I absolutely think he's a buy. I don't think he's a must-have at centre. Of the most traded out, number 6, Aden Fanua-Blake. Clem, 749K, 73 points per game, average break-even of 103. Sat out last game because he was a naughty boy and blew up after the game against the Knights. We assume he comes back in round 14, starts for them, the Warriors get players back. I'm a non-owner. I'm thrilled to see people selling. I'm surprised, though. What do you reckon?
Oh, I definitely wouldn't sell him. I think that Webster did that to make a statement, that you don't do what you did, and I think that he took it really well, and apparently, caught in the press conference about it, and so I think to sell him, just keep him. He's a number over the buy rounds and a good number. There's no need to sell him.
Yeah, every time he's crashed over this year, I've died a little inside, so that should be enough to say that I think hold on. Yeah.
I don't want to talk about him, but hold.
Yeah.
Number 9, Chancellor Cookstad, also highly sold this week, 701K. He's averaging 80 points per game. Missed last game due to illness, but breaking to 52.
So Warriors play after this weekend 5 games straight, including round 16 and next week. Hold for sure.
You wouldn't sell. I don't understand this.
He's been killing.
And Chance at 5'8" the other week, on fire.
Oh my
and
God.
then you add round 14, Fanua-Blake will be back, Sean Johnson comes back, the Warriors are revitalised.
Hold.com.
Yeah.
Hold.com.
And number 11, really fascinating one. And granted, by this point, it's not massive numbers of trade outs, but Ronaldo Mulitalo at 568K and KL Iro at 495K might have been 12 or 13, both being sold. I think Mulitalo is a borderline buy this week because basically since Braden Trindle was a naughty boy and got stood down and hasn't played for about 5 weeks, Mulitalo, and we sort of called it, that with Anderson coming in on the edge, Nicho on the right was just going to get all the ball. He hasn't scored in 5 weeks. he's gotten down to like bottom dollar. I don't need round 13 numbers, but if I did with Trindle back and potentially holds that spot over Atkinson when Nicho returns, Ronaldo's a potential buy. And Kale Iro, 495k. Like, again, I'm basically the one bloke that doesn't own him. I watch every game the Sharks play with my heart in my mouth, waiting for him to crash over, and his base of 60 plus a try and he goes 90. Like, I would not be selling either.
You just hold both for the next 2 weeks, 100 million %. And then if you want to make some moves around 15 to some other centres, sure. But no way. As I said, Mulatalo could well be a buy very soon.
Yeah. Clem?
I 100% agree. I wouldn't be selling either of these guys. No.
Very affirmative here, you two. A lot of 100% going around. So we're
Confidence.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we like to see. Spy talk. Things you may have missed. Mate, hit us. And there's a bit of a theme to this one.
There is a theme. It's actually just general targets who we haven't mentioned. May have missed, if you will. But firstly, VC loop this week. Just be careful. If you're in my position, a lot of us will end up with like 17 players with your, Pharmacilian stuff coming in, or 16. Just make sure you set it up so you don't get stuck with a really good VC score and then go, oh shit, Cronola's already played, Nicho's locked out, Penrith's played, he's locked out. I can't put the captain on anyone. So just set someone in your lineup, excuse me, so that you can actually do the VC loop and put the captain on a non-player. So ideally, for example, I'm bringing in, we'll skip ahead a bit, Jerome Hughes for Cleary just to get ahead of next week. I know his team doesn't play. I can sit him there in the halfback spot all weekend and put the captain on him at any point if you need be. So just have a buy player where possible in your starting lineup and be good to go for that loop option because it could catch a few out. Super random, but the Dolphins post-Origin draw is horrendous. Holy dooly, Finns fans. You need to bank some wins heading up to then.
As a Jermaine Sarko owner, that terrifies me.
But they have a good buy schedule. So you can sell them off them, but just be aware. I just had a little look today.
Post-buy period.
Post-buys.
Oh, sweet. Done with him.
So just be aware if you're loading up on Finns players that it does get tricky sort of after Origin. But today's, we'll just go through team by team without taking too long. Targets that I've noted down. It's actually from next week on, to be honest. There's a heap of them. It's going to be really fun for Supercoach. Team by team, I've really done the teams that have an incredible draw from 14 to 19. At South, we have Latrell Mitchell, Cody Walker and Kaloa Matangi. Latrell, I think, is going to be a massive buy at fullback. There's not many of them left at the moment. Cody, you'll see
Origin 1 result big for that.
Pending as well.
Because I'm tempted to go Trey Fuller to Latrell next week. If the Blues lose, you're like, well, Latrell could come in.
Got to be coming in.
Yeah.
Cody, just keep an eye on that calf, but bottom dollar, probably playing with a bit more confidence now. Kaloa Matangi, huge last week, but pretty quiet before that. If you could show something again next week, maybe have a squiz. On to Manly. It's finally time I get Garrick. I just can't stand watching that handsome devil. He's just in everything. And I'm like, he's been quiet. How good? And I'm like, oh, he's on 30 at half time. Like, he hasn't kicked a goal. So I'm just going to get him in.
Last weekend was a joke, wasn't it?
And even last weekend, like, he got ankle tapped on another line break. He's sneaky good and just quietly get him in the Blues conversation. I love him. Goal kicks. He's quicker than he looks. He's strong work ethic. But yeah, anyway, I'm getting him in. And Cooler, especially with the talk that Turbo may come back in another position. Cooler could potentially be the fullback for the rest of the year. He's 450k.
Jeez. He's a must-have when he comes back in, isn't he?
Oh, huge. So, yep. At the Tigers, they got a hell of a run, but we've got Appy. Certainly some injury concerns there. He's sort of, body's battling to take it all at the moment. But him, Stefano, and Samuel Afenu on the edge there, 80 minutes. Really good.
Finally jade that attack last week.
Really good options just from that round 14 period on. At the Titans, Brian Kelly, my old flame, doing good things, playing really, really well. I don't think I've ever actually owned him. I've just talked about him a lot over the years. He
crops up in conversation every year, and then he just gets injured or something happens.
Yeah, and it'd be a buy. It'd be a buy purchase. He's killing it. Kinney, the young fullback on the weekend, goal kicking and offloading and running. I think that was his breakout game to say, I belong at this level. So Keanu Kinney, tell you what, busy work rate, attack, goal kicking. He could be a little pod.
Yeah, but like Jaden Campbell, Brimson, job security,
we'll
not good. He was incredible though.
Yeah, how long's he out for? Do we know?
I think he was maybe 4 to 6 or something.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You might get Kinney for 5-6 weeks.
You don't need it for that long.
And then sell him
we'll
after.
Confirm.
Clementine, who do you like at the Titans? I won't steal him.
I really like Furmore.
And you've owned him from the start,
I've
eh?
owned him the entire season, and honestly, like every time I play him recently, like he just absolutely kills it.
He's a weapon.
He's such a weapon. I'm just like, oh my god, this guy's so good. So I think Spy's gonna steal my man.
I'm definitely going to try. Randomly, but Dylan Lucas at the Knights holding that spot again. Hopefully Frizzell in the middle.
It
Gun.
looks like he's held it, doesn't it?
Second row and centre availability, so one to watch. You could probably grab him around 17, to be honest. You don't need to rush into it. Just in the halves department too, I'm getting Hughes this week, but Shawnee Johnson next week if he's back. If Nicho all goes well at Origin, he looks to sell, might bring my boy back in for one last hurrah.
If Hines looks to sell, there's your man.
Yep. Plays 14-16 and we'll reassess
Might
later.
even follow you into it, mate.
Oh,
Yeah,
bit
me
nervous
too.
and excited thinking about it. Dolphins, just want to jot some obvious names, but Asako, Jerry Marshall-King, but Nicarima, Aitken and Herbie Farnworth, all options. But as I said, maybe careful about overloading with them. They do have around 17, I think.
Ewan Aitken's dual 2R FCT derby, he's basing 55.
Yeah.
He scored like one try or something all season. Like
He's getting better and better.
He is.
That's huge. That's essentially Spy's things you may have missed or look forward to in coming weeks.
Good stuff, Spy. Now, let's get into our round 13 trades and skipper plans. Clem, take us away.
So for my trades, I'm going Reese to Kiraz by Jules and Cotter to Curran. So I think I'm probably the only person in Supercoach that doesn't own Curran. And I just kind of want to have him over those bye periods. And I just think Cotter with a 90 break even and no guarantee that he's going to back up and make that or get those minutes. I just think over the bye period, he's a sell for me. He's done me well though, so that's great. I'm going to VC Kiraz and I'm either going to captain Drinky or Joey Manu. I haven't decided. But yeah, that's mine.
Ooh, very good. Spy, I heard a little Jerome Hughes drop there.
Little Hughes drop, yeah. So firstly, Teddy in for Reece Walsh. I just can't miss out on Teddy. Captaincy option galore. And then getting ahead of next week, I want to make my one or two trades now, just in case shit hits the fan and I need to make my two trades
In your
next week.
situation, which is up shit creek without a paddle.
No, I got a mad paddle. I'm just in that
paddle.
creek.
Next year you might get a tracksuit.
I think it makes sense. Play it safe. Because, like, imagine if a lot does drop and you end up like 4 short next week, you'd be like, oh, I could have avoided.
So I want to just have four trades available and probably just use a couple of them. But yeah, bring him in. I might even have a look for another. We'll just see. Maybe like a... we'll have a look later, but we'll see. In terms of VC, I've got written here Dylan Brown or Kiraz, but there's no way I'm letting you VC Kiraz when I've owned him forever. Bled for him.
Just copy me then. That's fine.
So I'll be copying you. But into Teddy Skipper. So in terms of what I'd want from Kiraz as a free loop, anything above 80 we start to talk. 85, 90 I'd start to lock it in. But I do think Teddy could be in for a monster. But as we know, head knocks and whatnot happen. We saw Nicho last week. So hopefully Kiraz can get the job done. But it's most likely going to be Teddy Sunday Arvo.
What about my boy, Tyron Wishart? You mentioned Jerome Hughes, but for a lot cheaper. I bought him last week for buy coverage. Dual 5'8" half. Knocked out 60 on the weekend, 32 in base. Pretty good draw. Well, after this week with the buy, Knights, Warriors, Dolphins, Raiders, Tigers. Would you consider him over Hughes?
No, not because I don't like him. I just love Hughes and he looks so good
Fair
when we
enough.
were watching last weekend. He's just running the footy. My issue would be when Pappy returns pretty soon, they got Suafar logo. Does someone end up at 5'8" for Wishart? Maybe.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I think that...
Even Meany.
I think that Farlongo goes to 14.
Yep.
And I think Pappy comes back at fullback and Wishart stays in the halves. As a bloke who owns Wishart and Farlongo, like they said, Pappy is looking to get back running by round 14. So I'm like,
Well,
round
16
15
or
is pretty
something.
optimistic. Let's say he comes back round 15. I'm like, all right, maybe one of those two drops to the bench. By round 16, Xavier Coates is going to be gone for Origin. So I think even then, Farlongo
Play wing
goes
or
to the
something.
wing.
Yep.
Grant will be going to Origin. Wishart could start at hooker. So I'm like, you know what, a fair bit has to go wrong. It could, but I feel pretty good about it.
Very good.
Matty?
Yes. As for trades, I'm not 100% sure yet, but I do have 13 players already, like playing if I didn't make any trades. So I'm not that desperate. The only one I'm not happy about in my 13 is Talagi. So I'll make a trade somewhere. I'm not sure what I'll probably look to the next few weeks.
Yeah.
As for captain, I'm going to take a punt on one of the Roosters, I think, Dom Young or Sammy Walker, probably Dom Young.
Dom's fun.
Yeah. It's going to be a fun watch. Very fun watch.
I'm thinking similar, mate. So I'm at this stage staying true to my word. No trades this week. Saving all 3 of them. Leaves me, I've got 22 in the bank. I want to use 2 next week. So just feel so good saving them. Happy with my team. Perhaps I could end up using 1 to strengthen things, but as it stands, I'm happy with how it is. Captains, I'm thinking VC, Jermaine Asako. I've got a strong squad, but I don't have a lot of out-and-out guns in terms of like the big ones. Like I don't have a Kiraz, for example, who I know you two are both keen on. So him, and then Teddy's the standout. If you get him, just get him, lock him in. Roosters game as well. Like the Cowboys have so many out. The Roosters have a lot out, but they can cover them. The Cowboys can't. They're in all sorts. It's in Sydney. They could destroy them. It's Joey Manu or Dom Young. And I'm pretty torn. Dom Young would have been the play, I think, but you just look, short memory of last weekend. Just before the game, Joey Manu went back to that tub of glue and he dipped his hands in it and the glue hands came back, didn't they? He did not want to pass it to him.
Just quietly, Scotty Drinkwater, probably not a buy anymore, I don't think. It doesn't play 16-19. Really tough draw this weekend.
I wouldn't cap him in this week.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd get him in if you didn't already.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah. It's great to have for this week and for the next few weeks, but potentially sell material coming around like 16.
Yep.
Who would you go spy out of Manu or Young?
Dom's calling me.
Clem?
I'm going to go Joey, and actually I just realised the reason Nicho scored 3 last week is because I put all my energy into reversing your curse.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, so that's why.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about Nicho.
97, 2 tries. Has the curse been reversed, do we think?
I think it's been reversed. I've done it.
I put that out on social media. Like, has the curse been reversed when he did it? Then someone mentioned, yeah, but then Teddy didn't get picked for Origin, so he doesn't get to play fullback, so it's still there. All right. Spy, do we have a couple of minutes or you got to take off?
Oh, busy Tuesday nights as always. Give us 2 quick questions. I'm ready to go here.
All righty. We'll get you a couple of quick ones in. This is a good one. So the one from Sam. Hey, Phoenix, Crossland and gang. Going to go out on a limb and say I'm Phoenix, Crossland. Needs some 2RF help. Deciding between Preston, Radley and Nicho. What are your thoughts on the best option out of these 3? Because particularly for those looking for 2RF this week that are, say, trading Angus Crichton and want a number, 2RF's not a good position. Like, Crichton's a standout. He's a sell for people. Dave Feeder, he looms as a good buy for next week, but again, Origin result pending. What are you thinking?
Preston, if he starts, like it.
Which he is. Like, kick out's gone for 4 to 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, it's always just weird stuff for the doggies game day, but otherwise, Nicho, I'm happy just to lock in.
And here's one from James. Should Origin be counted in Supercoach? So instead of trading out guns, we trade them in. It'd bring a new dynamic. I do not need any more passion going into Origin.
Oh, you could
imagine owning Reece Walsh and watching him play Origin. I'm like, he says game 1 gets included in round 13, game 2 gets included in round 16, etc. It's an interesting one because
you just couldn't have their prices change because blokes would play like 10 off the bench and screw you.
It changes too much, and
I'd have to trade out every Queenslander.
Yeah,
like that's not
in
good
terms
for
of the buy round. It'd solve that issue, wouldn't it? Because we'd have full squads.
No, I'm feral enough looking at the telly next Wednesday night. I don't need more.
The concept is good. It'd just screw around with prices.
The best would just be straight of Origin Supercoach.
Yeah, Origin Supercoach
They used to do it.
So good.
But instead of picking one game at a time, you got to pick a squad to start the series, and then you got to hold it over 3 games. You get a couple of trades throughout.
So
How
much
good!
Fun. What a trick miss. They used to do it. Telly.
Get it back.
All right, Spy. Catch you, mate.
Thanks, guys. How good?
Next time. Clem. Dream team. In action.
We're here.
All right. One from... Oh, this one's so good. Damien Wright. Matty. This one's from Damien Wright. Does Matty the Waterboy's voice remind anyone of McLovin from Superbad?
Wow. That's a bit rough. Wow. What was his name?
Damien Wright.
Fuck you, Damien.
I'm absolutely going to get a voice comparison of that too, because it never crossed my mind. But then when I read the question, I was like, maybe.
Wow.
Like,
I wasn't ready for that one.
a question, Clem, from who we got next? Cameron Brady. Teddy, Manu and Young. Is owning all three 2 all in, or is 2 of the 3 enough? So what do you think?
I honestly think that it's not too much. And the reason I think that is I think that they're all performing and they're all like scoring big points. And so you may as well own the players that are actually scoring the big points rather than, you know, I'm assuming it's because they're on a bye next round, rather than owning, you know, Raiders that aren't scoring big points. I'd rather have the big players there.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on. I don't love there's always these questions about, is too many from one team too much? You're correct in that round 14. If you can get through next week and you're all right with owning numerous Roosters and you've got Dolphins, whatever, like Teddy, Manu and Young, they're all scoring enormously this season in tandem with each other in the same games. The one risk, which it's brought a few people undone in the past, I've been hurt by it, actually by the Roosters to start last year because they started a bit slow, but is that if they do just suddenly go on a flunk of form like, you know, Bunnies did it last year when they were, you know, relatively popularly owned, and they all just start scoring poorly. But a Roosters side that is rampaging, there's no reason why they can't all continue to score well together.
Yeah, and that's when you can get rid of them. Like, I think at the moment while they're actually scoring, just jump on that. Like, I just think it's so important to have those big players over the bye rounds.
So barring that, of like being short in round 14, absolutely. And look, if I had a spot for Teddy, I'd be having those 3 as well. But not going to happen for me. One from Muzz on the Teddy chat still, and there's a few around it. We've spoken a lot about him, but look, he's the talking point this week, him and Nicho Hynes. Is Fuller to Teddy a good move if you've got cash in the bank? Would you do that?
I haven't owned Fuller, but I probably would because I think Teddy's the one to get in this week. I definitely think he's going to get more points than Fuller. Yep. Yeah,
I also think Teddy is going to get more than Fuller, but I'm a Fuller owner. I held him for this week, and he was killing it before Hammer came back. You've got a gun fullback, good Supercoach scorer, playing round 13. That's not a trade that I'm making there. One from... Oh, this is a good one. One from Sean Ford that sort of popped up to me and I sort of looked at it and went, do I add it in? And then I looked at his stats, not Sean Ford's. How do you feel about Reid Marnie as a pod? Cheers, big fella. So I brought him up. Have you had a look at him by any chance?
I did have a look, so I do need to fix my hookers a little bit.
He's carving up.
He is.
It flew under the radar. Something chronic.
I don't mind it as a pod, to be fair. So what was he, 628? 628K. I mean, there is Appy and there is JMK as well. So you have to sort of weigh him up with those, but I don't mind him as a pod.
Averaging 65 this season, 5-round average of 69. He plays 80 minutes just about every week. I bought him it was a bit earlier than this last year and got absolutely burnt by him. A lot of us did, but that was in a different doggy side. Yep. The Doggies playing damn good footy this year. So, look, I like the Jeremy Marshall-King buy better if you're covered for next week. But if you're struggling for next week, Marnie's an extra player.
Yeah.
If you can get through this week and next week okay, I think, like you mentioned, the Appy Coruscant, goal-kicking, big-minute hooker at the Tigers, who looks like he'll probably play 16 and 19. Again, one we can just reassess after Origin. But I still like the Appy play from about round 15 or 16. But Reid Marnie... He's not going anywhere and he's scoring well, so yeah.
And if you want to just try a pod, like, why not, right?
Yeah, exactly right. One from Snezak. Cotter, who you're also selling, to Joe Tarpany or Jack DeBellin. Now, it was an interesting one here because Joe Tarpany was good on the weekend, and he's normally a buy this time of year because Ricky Stewart often starts him off lower minutes and just builds him into the bigger game time. Being a Kiwi, he tends to pick up a few extra minutes around the Origin period. I need to double check that, but I feel like that's definitely a thing. But played 60 minutes last week with big Josh Papali'i out for 75 points. But this year, he's just not scoring that well. He's basing 51. He's hardly been offloading, but 567K, look, he's very cheap in terms of buy coverage. Another one, the Raiders on the buy next week. And Jack DeBellin... 617K. The big one about Jack is he's dual 2-0 front row forward. Plays big minutes at the Dragons. 61 average, 5-round average of 64. Would you consider either of these two?
I would. If I was going to have to choose between the two, I'd probably choose Jack DeBellin. I just think with the buy for the Raiders next week. That would be off-putting to me. The whole reason I think you trade out Cotter is that he might not back up next week or get as many minutes, and so I feel like you want to get players who are going to be scoring over those rounds.
Yeah, I don't mind the...
and plus the duel.
It's tough because like if you're looking at bye coverage, DeBellin as a number next week very handy, and you would want to lose Tarpany. DeBellin plays round 19, which looks like the toughest bye round. So, look, both, again, players worth having a bit of a look at. I think of the two, I'd probably lean towards... In fact, I'd definitely lean towards DeBellin just because he covers round 14, which is tough, and round 19, which is a lot tougher. So I think they're the two there. Clem, that might do us. How'd it feel to be back on?
That was
Killed
great.
It.
So much fun. Yeah,
Confident?
so good to be back on. Confident.
Thank you very much for tuning in this week, guys. Good luck at NRL Supercoach round 13 and have a ripper week.